Excellent. Thank you all. I'm Susie Jackson with TRSA, and we're very glad to have you here for the RSAP or Understanding Responsible Supplier Assurance Program. I'm going to kick it off in a minute with Milton and group, but I just wanted to say a quick hello. You guys all are right now on automatically on mute, and your speakers, your camera's off. You're welcome to turn your camera on. If you have questions at all, go ahead and put it in the chat, and I'll manage that. This is going to be very conversational. The team here is going to talk to you a little bit about RSAP and what it means. And then feel free, as you have questions, you're represented in this group are both suppliers, who this is kind of started with, and then operators who's going to be benefiting from this. So with that, I will let Milton kick it off. Milton's mute.
Good afternoon. I'm Milton Magneth with M&B Hangars. And several of us on the Supplier Council, Supplier Partner Council, we're talking about this because we all received multiple social and environmental questionnaires from mainly the public uniform and linen companies, but other people too, and having to fill all those out all the time. It made sense for us to get with TRSA and ask them if they could do something to make this program where it's universally accepted and a universal guide to it. So we went with them and talked with Joe and Kevin and Tom and the group, and they decided to come up with something. And it really makes sense because when somebody asks us for one, we just say, well, we're give them our TRSA approval, and that's it. It's really handy. So Phil, would you help enlighten them some?
Yeah, I think just to build a little bit upon what Bill has said, when he came up with the idea and approached several of us on this, what really hit home for me and my company, by the way, Phil Hart with Cunninghuser, I should have introduced myself, is that as a global supplier and as our business really is global in nature, our operations are for this group are here in the U.S. and in North America, but the supply chain is global, and to have an assurance of supply chain integrity, sustainability, best business practices, I think it is a good initiative for us to sign on to and to really make sure that we're elevating and conducting business in the ways that we all want to do. Once this came about, talked to several operators, and there was a lot of interest from the operations side. And Jim Buick, maybe I pass it over to you, and you can give the perspective from the operator side there.
Thanks, Bill, and thanks, Milton, and the entire TRSA staff. As an operator, it just goes to the core values of the company to make sure that you're operating with a supplier that is both being sustainable as well as being responsible, not only with resources, but with people. And so that's first and foremost, but also it affects the quality, the value of the product that you receive from a supplier that has those similar core values. Because if they are not operating in a tried-true business, they may be cutting another corner, and you shouldn't be interested in working with somebody like that. And then we had an incident, and it didn't have to do with this, but we had an incident with a supplier that suddenly our supply was curtailed, and we had to pivot to a different supplier. And so continuity of supply chain is vital to all of us operators. And then finally, this is beneficial because it supports our suppliers, it supports our responsible suppliers, it supports our industry, and it's just the right thing to do. So I appreciate being invited, and thanks for including me, Phil.
I'll jump in here. Hi, it's David Tingu with Tingu Brown and Company. So, a lot of what I'm saying is echoing what these other guys are saying. with the exception of that, our company in our business, sort of aftermarket supplies and spare parts and stuff, frankly, we don't get a lot of questionnaires, that ask us about, our social responsibilities and our core values. We don't get a lot of those. But I knew when it was brought up, and it came up during a lot of our partnership meetings we would have. But it was the right thing to do. As Jim just said those words a minute ago, it's just the right thing to do. And we know it's good for the industry. We know it's frankly good for TRSA. And frankly, our business, we like to be a leader in the industry. And even though this didn't impact us directly from, making life simpler with some of the questionnaire stuff that I certainly understand many others have to go through, while we didn't have to go through it, it was still from some industry leadership standpoint, and so this is my encouragement to the other members of our industry on the supplier side, that I think it's the right thing to do, and so you want to be an industry leader. I think this is something you're going to step up and do that. So there's a little bit of competitive peer pressure to do this as well, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Yeah, great commentary, Jim and the others about the core values of a business and making sure we have sustainable resources and we're being responsible not only to our employees but to our suppliers' employees to make sure that we hold them accountable. It's just the right thing to do. So that's why we jumped in early on it. Not sure, Susie, do you want to take it from here, or should we take this? Are there any questions
I think
people
if you
have
guys could
about this?
we've kind of talked you talked about the benefits as a supplier, right? So it's important. What other benefits? It's the right thing to do is a great answer. But what other benefits as a supplier partner is there? Why should people that are on this call think about, all right, that's something we've got to do to be competitive? Like, what are the benefits do you guys think? The three of you kind of started it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for M&B, it really sets us apart from some of our foreign competitors. We've always operated with integrity. We do now. We're like David and Phil said, it's the right thing to do, and our core values align with theirs, align with TRSA's, and we think we might have a competitive advantage over some of our competitors that hadn't filled this out or can't fill this out. And John Thomas is on the phone. He filled it out for our company, and it was it's a good process to make you look at yourself and look in a mirror, but it really make sure you're doing things right.
Yeah, I'll echo that too again, Milton. I know Patrick Robertson from our company is on the line here too, and and Patrick and I spent a lot of time. It was a really good exercise for us to think like, we always think we're doing the right thing, but are we really? And we dug into it, and it forced us to kind of really be introspective and really kind of it forced us to hold ourselves accountable to it, right? And we had a lot of conversations with some of our suppliers, and thankfully that they responded as we would hope they would respond, and but it was good for us. It really made us think a lot about who we are and what we're doing. So, and is it meeting our company missions and core values and stuff? So,
and I'll echo that as well, because we looked at it as a self-audit, and we have as a company, Conagizer has different reporting requirements in different parts of the world, but when we dug into our supply chain and asking the questions, it was good to see that our North American operations, our North American manufacturing, that was very easy to audit and go through, and felt very good about that. But then asking the questions internally in Europe and other parts of the world where we source items, it was an audit, and we passed the audit. It's kind of like at the end of the year when you pass the financial audit, it's going to be okay, but it sure is good to get that letter, and when they sign off and the auditors leave, it was kind of the same feeling. It was really good. So I think it bolsters, of course, outward to operators, But there was a little bit of a shot in the arm internally as well with the team that went through this to say, yeah, we feel really good about this. We have an internal employee newsletter, and we beat the drum pretty heavily internally as well, just so everybody within the company could know, yeah, we meet the criteria, we meet or exceed, and we're very, very proud of that.
How about on the other side, Jim, can you benefit-wise as an operator, you mentioned some of it in the beginning, but are there any other benefits? Like if you were an operator and you're like, okay, I've got to decide to make the decision on these two vendors, or this is new, it's a new program, it's only been around less than a year. We've got 8 members right now, 8 of the companies who've already joined. Do you see that in the future as something that operators will go, all right, let's go see who's already cleared the list or whatever, just make it easier for them, for operators? Will it?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been of the mind that unless you're supporting the industry, unless you're a member of TRSA or CSC, that you probably don't belong as a vendor of mine. I've taken that position for a long time, because the vendors that are involved integrally in the industry, helping train my team members, helping train me, involved in all aspects of the industry, those are the suppliers that I should be, working with. And I position my company on, as a high quality operator, high quality vendor. And so I'm looking for suppliers that are positioning themselves equally. It is not always the cheapest price that rules the day. It's all about quality, delivery, availability, and operating in integrity. And unless you're doing that, I need to find a different vendor. And so that's important to my customers. That's important to our company. And as I said, it's ultimately vital to how our company operates and what we deliver. We have to depend on vendors that are going to be dependable. And you can't be dependable if you're relying on a supply chain that has potential holes in it. And so that's why this stamp of approval, it's like for me as an operator, hygienically clean certification, I feel, is a vital stamp of gold star or approval. And the same is true of this program for my vendors. It's a stamp of approval, a seal of approval.
Hey, this is Christy with ABS. So I just had one comment coming from my RFID background with Positech for many years. I know one of the things that we ran into was it's not always the laundries that want the information. It's also their end users. So specifically like in healthcare, a lot of times they want to know, well, who are you working with as a supplier of mine? So there were often times where if we were putting RFID tags into products and those products were entering the hospital, they wanted some sort of compliance to know who they were working with. So I think this even goes farther than just the laundry itself.
Excellent point.
I think Dave's gone at this point.
Any others? Thank you, Christy.
So see, we actually had on a uniform committee conference call one day. We had one of the uniform companies say that his customers are requiring he get certificates from vendors, and that was before this program was about. So it,
Wow.
I really think it is very very applicable to operators to be able to call their vendor and say, could you give me the assurance that that you're socially and environmentally responsible? And TRSA has proven that.
Well, a lot of credit goes to you because you were one of the original people that came. It was Milton's idea, and then gathered these guys together. And the supplier partner council was all supportive. And as to TRSA's perspective, it's advantageous for us because we represent the industry. We want operators to be happy, want our suppliers to be happy. This is a good way to do the combination. And it's nice to hear that people are using it, that people are asking it. We want it to be easy for you. We want it, it's new, it just started. But again, we got 8 companies to jump on in the first 6 months, which I thought was great. So if there's any other, we have about 10 more minutes left. So if there's any other questions, we'll take a question. And then maybe if the 3, Phil and Milton and David, you've summarized any last word of advice that you would give to people that are on the fence about this. If you've all been salespeople in your life, let's hear okay, here's why you got to do it. I'm just curious. I would welcome that. I'm all about testimonials, I'm a marketing person. So,
we hustled in. Patrick and I worked hard to try and when this came out, we're like, hey, let's get this done. And I like to tease. I think Phil and Milton, I may have beaten them by about 16 seconds. But I like to claim that we were the first, even though it was still the same day. It may have just been a filing thing, or anyway, no. But I think there's so I tease a little about that. But to me, I think again, it's there's a little bit of, for those others who may be on the call, and again, it's sort of that competitive peer pressure to say, you know what, it's the right thing to do. And if you're not willing to do this, I frankly question, why not? And you probably don't want to answer why not, because there's not really a good reason. So I would just toss that out there. I don't mind being needle my fellow supplier partners, because I just think it's the right thing to do for our industry. It's the right thing to do for our customers. Right thing to do for the world. So
there you go.
I would echo that again, and I'm still a little bit bitter, David, that you beat us to the punch there. I don't like to come in second or third. I probably even maybe came third, but no, there's really no barrier to this other than if there's a problem in your operations or your supply chain, and then this can be the impetus to say, you know what, we're going to change this. Mm-hmm. Because it's not a huge investment of money. I think it's a very reasonable amount of money, and the process, the questionnaire, going through it, the process, it's an investment of time, but it's not an onerous investment of time. And I think I really think it builds upon itself, and I think the more supplier partners we have, the more credibility all of us have combined, and it really is one of those things that I think can snowball into something really good.
Well, I'll add my 2 cents again also, and the operators have the clean green that they tout and really brag about. We have the RSAP that we should tout and brag about. It's something we're proud of, that we have good vendors that service us in our raw materials. Mm-hmm. We don't buy from China, and which has come into the news a lot lately, and we're proud of our supply chain. It's important to do the right thing, and as Phil and David both have said, this is the right thing to do.
All right, Jim, do you want to add anything else?
Hey, Susie, I see Rudy Moores has his hand up.
Yeah. Maybe all right, Rudy.
You might need
Rudy.
to unmute him.
Thank you. I have a little question. The review process. Could you tell a little bit more about that? How that proceeds?
Does anyone want to add in? It's a simple application that's on the website, mm-hmm. And you can look at it right now if you like, as you want, and then as you open that application, it comes back in here. We have a review person that reviews everything, that makes sure all of the boxes were checked. It's very simple, and it's things like, I'll give you the first few questions. Do you have an internal code of conduct? Do you have an external source of conduct? Do you have a default? How many organizations or to conduct third-party certifications? You can check those. So it really just is a process. It's an online form, not very lengthy, And then that gets submitted. It comes into TRSA. It gets reviewed by a person. If there's anything that is a flag, they will address it, but there really hasn't been to date so far. And then there will be a once a year kind of re-audit of that, with kind of the same question to see if anything's changed. And I think during that, and maybe you guys could answer this also if there's any other opinions, the Supplier Partner Council, who's kind of overseeing this, as they maybe if something new comes in that needs to be really feels like it should be added, it would be added at that point. But it's a very simple process to do.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
I kind of relate this to wastewater treatment. Back in the 70s, in conjunction with RSAP and IIL, Roscoe worked with a couple other vendors to create the first water system in the industry. And for many years, customers didn't have much to say about it. Walked by it, kind of nodded at it. But in the last 10 to 15 years, they want to go in that room. They want to see the process. They want to understand it. They want to see our records from the Water Reclamation District. They want to know what to remain sustainable and compliant. And so this is where this is heading.
Thank you, Jim. If there's any other questions, raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll give two pieces of information. One, I did put in the chat, Rudy, especially for you, really easy access to the cert. You can pop right in there and you guys can see the application, questions. The page has a lot of information on that. Once you do become certified, we kind of give you a welcome kit. We give some suggestions where places where you can use the logo, how you should explain it. I think that will be helpful for your marketing and your sales teams. We have a 1-question survey that will be here it's right up here on the screen, popping up right there. If you guys would answer that at your leisure, that would be great right before you leave. And again, thank you. And I apologize at the beginning for not introducing correctly our 3 guys, Milton and for Jim and David and who else is there? Phil, who was calling in from Europe. Thank you guys. Really, it's a whole